Commander Jack Stone stood at the main viewport of humanity's first deep space diplomatic station, his eyes fixed on the approaching alien ship. It was huge, at least 5 times larger than the biggest human vessel ever built. The surface gleamed with a dark metallic sheen that seemed to swallow light rather than reflect it. "Thorn warship now within visual range," announced Lieutenant Maria Reed from her station. Her voice remained steady, but Jack noticed how her fingers tapped nervously against the console. "They're requesting docking permission." Jack nodded, keeping his face neutral. "Granted, alert the welcome team." 6 months ago, humanity had made its first contact with the Galactic Council, a loose alliance of 27 spacefaring species. Most had been friendly curious about these newcomers from a planet called Earth, but the Thorns were different. The Thorns ruled the Council through strength and fear. They came from what other species called a death world, a planet with high gravity, extreme temperatures, and countless deadly predators. These conditions had shaped the Thorns into living weapons, 10 ft tall, covered in natural armor plates with 4 powerful arms ending in razor-sharp claws. And now they wanted to meet humans face to face. "Remember," Jack said, turning to address his team, "we don't tell them about Earth's classification. Not yet." This was the plan. Let the Thorns believe humans were like the other soft-world species, physically weak and easily dominated. Intelligence from friendly aliens suggested the Thorns respected only strength and saw other beings as either useful tools or potential food. Dr. Ben Miller, the team's xenobiologist, stepped forward. "Sir, I've studied their biology. They'll sense fear through smell. We need to stay calm." "I know," Jack replied. "That's why everyone here was chosen for this mission." He straightened his uniform and squared his shoulders. "Let's go meet our new friends." The station's main airlock was large enough to welcome ships from various species. As the massive doors slid open, the human delegation got their first real look at the Thorns. General Craig, leader of the Thorn delegation, ducked to enter the room. Behind him came 5 warriors, each moving with surprising grace despite their size and bulk. Their bodies were covered in overlapping plates that looked like dark green stone. 4 glowing eyes were set deep in their angular heads, and clicking mandibles moved constantly around mouthparts that dripped with what looked like oil. "Humans," General Craig's voice boomed through his translation device. "We meet at last." Jack stepped forward and bowed slightly, not too deep as that would signal submission. "General Craig, welcome to Friendship Station. We're honored by your visit." The Thorn's upper eyes narrowed. "Honored? Yes, you should be. Your species is new to space, weak, small." He leaned down until his face was just feet from Jack's, in need of protection. Jack could smell the Thorn's breath, like hot metal and something rotting. He didn't step back. "Actually," Jack replied with a smile, "we're quite interested in trade and cultural exchange. Earth has much to offer the Galactic Council." General Craig made a sound like stones grinding together, their version of laughter. "What could your kind offer except service, perhaps as food?" The human delegation tensed, but Jack kept his calm. "Why don't we discuss this in the conference room? We've prepared refreshments suitable for your biology." The Thorns followed the humans through curved corridors to a large room with a round table. The chairs on one side were reinforced to handle the Thorns' weight. As they sat, Jack noticed how the aliens constantly scanned the room, looking for threats or weaknesses. "Your station is adequate," General Craig said, his mandibles clicking rapidly. "Though poorly defended, one Thorn scout ship could destroy it." "We prefer to focus on diplomacy rather than weapons," Maria said smoothly. "A luxury of the protected," sneered a younger Thorn warrior named Vex. "Softworlders always hide behind words when they lack claws." The meeting continued with thinly veiled threats from the Thorns and careful responses from the humans. Jack could see the aliens growing frustrated by the humans' refusal to show fear. Then it happened. Vex, clearly trying to intimidate, suddenly smashed his clawed fist onto the table. The reinforced metal dented under the impact. "Your species will serve the Thorns," he growled. "Resistance is." Before he could finish, Vex swung again, aiming to crack the table further. But this time Jack moved with speed that startled everyone in the room. Jack's hand shot out and caught the Thorn's wrist mid-swing. He didn't try to match the alien's strength. Instead, he used leverage, turning the force of the blow aside. Silence fell over the room. The Thorns stared at Jack, their glowing eyes wide with shock. The human delegation held their breath. Jack slowly released Vex's arm and stepped back. "On Earth," he said calmly, "interrupting a diplomatic meeting like that would be considered extremely rude." General Craig rose to his full height, looming over the humans. For a moment, it seemed violence would erupt. Then, unexpectedly, he made that grinding stone laugh again. Interesting, he said, studying Jack with all four eyes. You moved quickly for a soft-worlder. Jack shrugged, just reflexes. Meeting resumed, but with a different tone. The Thorns asked more questions about Earth, about human physiology, about their history. Jack answered carefully, revealing enough to be truthful but holding back key details. When the Thorn delegation finally prepared to leave, General Craig pulled Jack aside. Your world, he said quietly, mandibles almost still. What classification is it? Jack looked up at the massive alien. It was time for the truths. Earth is classified as a Class 12 Death World General, he said. Higher gravity than your home world. Extreme temperatures ranging from -125 to 136 degrees F, oxygen levels that would be toxic to most council species. Thousands of predator species. Constant natural disasters. General Craig's outer plates shifted slightly, the Thorn equivalent of raised eyebrows. You lie. Jack shook his head. Check your own council records. We didn't volunteer the information because we didn't want special treatment. If this is true, Craig said slowly, then you are. Deathworlders, Jack finished for him, just like you. Back on their ship, the Thorns gathered in the command center. General Craig paced while his warriors watched silently. Pull the council records on planet Earth, he ordered. Full biological and geological scan. Minutes later, the data appeared on their screens. The Thorns stared in disbelief. It cannot be, whispered Vex. These soft, small creatures from such a world. The data was clear. Earth's gravity was 1.1 times that of the Thorn home world. The temperature variations were more extreme. The atmospheric oxygen content would cause Thorn lungs to burn, and the predator diversity was unmatched in the known galaxy. How do they survive without natural armor? Another warrior asked. Without claws or venom. General Craig zoomed in on images of Earth. Humans climbing frozen mountains, diving into crushing ocean depths, running across burning deserts. They adapted differently, he said slowly. Not with armor or strength, but with endurance, with tool-making, with cooperation. He closed the display and turned to his warriors. His voice was low, but every Thorn heard him clearly. We have made a terrible mistake, General Craig said. We thought we were meeting new prey. Instead, we have found another apex predator. Back on the station, Jack rejoined his team. What do you think they'll do now? Maria asked. Jack watched as the Thorn ship detached from the station. They'll report to their leaders, they'll research us more carefully, and then... And then, Dr. Miller prompted. Jack's expression was grim but determined. And then we'll find out if two apex predator species can share a galaxy without going to war. 3 weeks after first contact with the Thorns, Commander Jack Stone sat in his office aboard Friendship Station reviewing reports. Sleep had become a luxury as news about humans spread through the Galactic Council. Some species reached out with friendly messages, others withdrew their diplomats, suddenly wary of these newcomers from a death world. The door chimed and Lieutenant Maria Reed entered. Her usual neat appearance was replaced by obvious exhaustion. More messages from Earth, she said, handing him a tablet. They want updates every 6 hours now. Jack sighed, tell them nothing has changed. The Thorns haven't responded since they left. That's what worries everyone, Maria replied, dropping into a chair. The Thorns have never been this quiet. Usually they make demands immediately. Jack was about to respond when the station's alert system activated. Thorn vessel approaching, announced the AI system. Size classification Dreadnought. Jack and Maria exchanged worried glances. A dreadnought was not a diplomatic vessel, it was a warship. All personnel to alert stations, Jack ordered through the comm system. No aggressive actions, I repeat, no aggressive actions. They rushed to the command center, arriving just as the massive Thorn ship came into view. It dwarfed their previous visitor, bristling with weapons that could reduce Friendship Station to dust in seconds. They're hailing us, said Communications Officer Tom Harris. Jack straightened his uniform on screen. The display flickered to life, showing not just General Craig but a circle of older, more heavily armored Thorns. Their plates were scarred and worn, showing battles survived and enemies defeated. Humans, said one of the older Thorns, his voice deeper than Craig's. I am Elder Draz, leader of the Thorn High Command. Jack bowed slightly. Elder Draz, I am Commander Stone, how may we assist you? The Elder Thorn's mandibles clicked rapidly. Our scientists have verified General Craig's report. Your world is indeed a death world. This changes matters. We hope for peaceful relations with all council species, Jack said carefully. Elder Draz made the grinding stone laugh that seemed common among thorns. Peace is earned, human, not given. He leaned forward. For 10,000 cycles, the thorns have been the undisputed apex predators of known space. No species has challenged our position. We're not looking to challenge anyone, Jack began, but Elder Draz cut him off with a wave of his clawed hand. Yet your very existence is a challenge, the Elder said. A species from a world more deadly than our own without our natural advantages. The question all thorns now ask is, how dangerous are humans really? The command center fell silent as the humans watched the screen, waiting. There is only one way to answer this question, Elder Draz continued. The war challenge. General Craig stepped forward. Elder, perhaps. The decision is made, snapped Elder Draz. The war challenge will determine if humans are worthy of respect or subjugation. Jack kept his expression neutral, though his mind raced. What exactly is this war challenge, Elder? Draz's 4 eyes gleamed. A series of trials to test strength, endurance, intelligence, and combat skills. It is how we have settled disputes between species for millennia without resorting to full warfare. And if we refuse? Then you declare your weakness, Elder Draz said simply. And weak species serve the strong. That is the way of the galaxy. Jack looked around at his team. Their faces showed concern but also determination. He turned back to the screen. We need to consult with Earth government before. You have 14 solar cycles to prepare, Elder Draz interrupted. The challenge will take place on the neutral moon of Keldor. Bring 50 of your best warriors. His mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. If humans truly are Deathworlders, prove it. The transmission ended, leaving the humans staring at a blank screen. Well, Maria said after a moment, that could have gone worse. Tom let out a nervous laugh. How exactly? They're basically forcing us into gladiator games. Jack moved to the central console and opened a direct line to Earth. Maybe, but they're also giving us a chance to earn respect without a war. He looked at his team. And that's an opportunity we can't waste. 12 days later, Jack walked through a converted military base in the Arizona desert. Around him, 48 men and women, each selected from elite military units around Earth, trained under the hot sun. They ran obstacle courses wearing weighted vests. They fought hand-to-hand in sandy pits. They solved complex tactical problems while under physical stress. Dr. Ben Miller jogged up beside Jack, tablet in hand. We've analyzed everything we know about thorn biology, he said, wiping sweat from his forehead. They're stronger than us, no question. Those armor plates can stop most impacts, but they have weaknesses. Tell me, Jack said, watching as a woman named Lisa Black flipped a man twice her size onto his back, using leverage instead of strength. 3 big ones, Ben said, showing Jack diagrams of thorn anatomy. First, their endurance is poor. They evolved for short, intense bursts of activity, not marathons. Second, water is problematic for them. Their plates absorb it and become heavy. And third, they think linearly. They struggle with creative problem solving. Jack nodded. So we focus on endurance challenges, use water to our advantage, and outthink them. Exactly, Ben agreed, but there's something else you should see. He led Jack to a large warehouse where engineers worked on what looked like body armor. Since we can't grow natural armor plates, Ben explained, we're making the next best thing. A technician demonstrated the new suits, made from advanced composites and impact-absorbing materials. They weren't as tough as thorn plates but would help level the playing field. It's not just about matching their strengths, Ben said. It's about maximizing our own. Jack picked up one of the helmets, feeling its lightweight. Will it be enough? It has to be, Ben replied solemnly. The Thorns sent us the full rules of the war challenge yesterday. If we lose, Earth becomes a protected world under Thorn control. Jack set down the helmet, and if we win, we get a seat on the High Council and full autonomy. The stakes couldn't be higher. Jack looked around at the training humans, seeing determination in every face. How are the final selections coming? Down to the last few spots, Ben said. Tom Harris will lead the physical team. Lisa Black for the technical challenges. We're building balanced teams for each trial. Jack nodded. Good, the Thorns expect us to compete like them, individual warriors seeking glory. But that's not how humans became apex predators on Earth. No, Ben agreed with a small smile. We did it through cooperation. On the final night before departure, Jack stood under the stars, looking up at the sky. Tomorrow they would leave for Kelder Moon, where the war challenge would take place. The fate of humanity's place in the galaxy rested on their shoulders. Maria approached, holding 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Jack. Admiral Wilson called, she said. Half the Galactic Council has requested to observe the challenge. This has become bigger than just humans versus Thorns. Jack sipped his coffee. The other Death World species are worried. With good reason, Maria replied. If the Thorns can subjugate us, they'll go after the others next. They stood in silence for a moment, watching as team members completed their final preparations. Do we have a chance? Maria finally asked. Jack turned to look at the training grounds, where humans from different countries, cultures, and backgrounds work together seamlessly. The Thorns think this challenge will prove they're the apex predators, he said quietly, but they've forgotten something important about predators. What's that? Jack's expression hardened with determination. The most dangerous ones don't always have the biggest claws or the strongest jaws. Sometimes, the most dangerous predator is the one you don't recognize as a threat until it's too late. In orbit around the Thorn home world, General Craig stood before Elder Draz in the High Command Chamber. The humans have accepted the challenge, Craig reported. They prepare as we speak. Elder Draz's scarred mandibles clicked slowly. Good, this will settle matters quickly. Choose our champions wisely, General. I want no mistakes. General Craig hesitated. Elder, I have studied these humans further. They are unusual. Perhaps we should. Are you questioning the High Command? Elder Draz interrupted, his voice dangerous. No, Elder, Craig said, bowing his head. I merely suggest caution. These humans don't fight like other species. Elder Draz dismissed his concern with a wave. No species has ever defeated the Thorns in a war challenge. These humans, despite their Death World origins, will be no different. General Craig bowed and left, but doubt lingered in his mind. He had seen how Jack moved that day on the station, with speed no soft-worlder should possess. He had studied recordings of humans on their planet performing feats that would challenge even Thorn warriors. The war challenge would answer the question that now consumed the Galactic Council. In a contest between different kinds of Death World predators, which would prove supreme. Kelder Moon hung in space like a jagged gray pearl. Its surface, sculpted by ancient asteroid impacts and modified by Galactic Council engineers, now featured 7 distinct environments for the war challenge. The human ship approached slowly, dwarfed by the massive vessels already in orbit. Representatives from 23 species had arrived to witness the contest between Thorns and humans, most expected to see the newcomers humiliated. Inside the ship, Jack Stone addressed the 50 human champions one last time. Remember your training, he said, looking at each face in turn. Remember that we're not just fighting for ourselves but for Earth's future among the stars. Tom Harris, leader of the physical team, nodded grimly. The former Special Forces operative stood like a statue, calm and focused. Beside him, Lisa Black checked her equipment again, her mind already working through the technical challenges ahead. The Thorns expect us to fight as individuals, Jack continued. That's their way, our strength is in working together. He paused, allowing his words to sink in. They're stronger, they have natural armor, but we have something they've forgotten about over centuries of domination. What's that, Commander? Asked one of the younger team members. Jack's expression hardened. Hunger. The drive that pushed humans to the top of Earth's food chain without claws or fangs or armor, the refusal to accept defeat. The ship docked at Keldor Station, a neutral facility floating above the moon's surface. As the humans disembarked, they got their first look at the full Thorn delegation. 50 Thorn warriors stood in perfect formation, their dark green armor plates gleaming under the station lights. Each stood at least 10 ft tall and their forearms ended in wicked claws. They looked unbeatable. Behind them stood Elder Draz with the Council observers, a collection of beings from across the galaxy, each unique in form. Some floated in bubbles of special atmosphere, others wore environmental suits. All watched the humans with intense curiosity. Jack led his team forward. The humans wore simple gray uniforms, their new protective gear packed away for now. Compared to the thorns, they looked small and fragile. Elder Draz stepped forward, his ancient plates bearing the scars of countless battles. Humans, his voice boomed through the translation system. You stand before the Galactic Council to prove your worth through the war challenge. His four eyes scanned the human team. 7 trials, 7 terrains, victory to the species that wins 4 challenges. Jack bowed slightly. We accept the terms Elder. Elder Draz seemed surprised by the human's confidence. The first challenge begins in 1 hour, strength conquest in the mountain terrain. As the group separated to prepare, General Craig approached Jack. Your warriors seem calm, Craig observed, mandibles clicking slowly. Jack smiled. We're just focused. Craig leaned closer. The first challenge favors raw strength, our natural advantage. We'll see, Jack replied simply. The first challenge, mountain terrain. The mountain terrain was a jagged landscape of sharp peaks and deep valleys. Giant boulders dotted the area, some larger than transport vehicles. A red flag stood at the top of the highest peak. The rules were simple. The first team to place their own flag at the summit while defending the route would win. 10 humans faced 10 thorns at the starting line. Tom Harris led the human team, his face set in grim determination. When the signal sounded, the thorns immediately charged forward, using their powerful limbs to climb the rocky slopes with ease. The humans split into 3 groups, a strategy that confused the watching aliens. What are they doing? Murmured one council observer to another. They should stay together against such powerful opponents. Elder Draz watched from the observation platform, mandibles clicking in satisfaction as his warriors quickly took the lead. See how the thorns dominate the terrain, he said to the other council members. This challenge will end quickly. But then something unexpected happened. While 2 human groups engaged the thorns directly, not trying to outmuscle them but delaying them with quick, coordinated movements, the third group took a different route entirely. They climbed a seemingly impassable cliff face using specialized techniques, bypassing the main confrontation. Interesting, General Craig muttered, watching through magnified viewers. They aren't trying to match our strength. The thorns, focused on brute force advancement, didn't notice the flanking group until they were nearly at the summit. When they did, 4 thorn warriors broke off to intercept them. What followed was a display of different combat styles. The thorns attacked individually, each seeking personal glory as their culture valued. The humans fought as a coordinated unit, protecting each other, creating openings that teammates could exploit. In the end, superior thorn strength won out. A massive warrior named Gra planted the thorn flag at the summit, letting out a roar of triumph that echoed across the mountains. First victory to the thorns, announced Elder Draz, his voice smug, as expected. But General Craig noticed something concerning. While the thorns had won, they were breathing heavily, their movement slower than before. The humans, though defeated, seemed barely winded. 1-0, Jack said quietly to his team as they regrouped. Exactly as we anticipated. The second challenge, survival endurance, Elder Draz announced 2 hours later. Teams must cross the desert terrain carrying supply packs. The desert stretched for miles, a scorching wasteland of sand and rock. The air temperature registered at 130 degrees F. Each team member carried a pack weighing 60 lb. The thorns hoisted theirs effortlessly, their powerful frames making the weight seem insignificant. Lisa Black led the human team for this challenge, implementing the strategy they had practiced on Earth. Pace yourselves, she reminded them, this isn't a sprint. When the signal sounded, the thorns surged ahead, their long legs covering ground quickly. Within 20 minutes they were far ahead of the humans, who maintained a steady, methodical pace. Elder Draz watched with satisfaction. The gap widens, he noted to the council observers. The humans cannot match Thorn's speed. But General Craig remained silent, watching more carefully. Halfway through the course, the first Thorn warrior began to falter. Their biology, evolved for short bursts of power, wasn't designed for sustained effort. The desert heat seeped through their armor plates, cooking them from within. One by one, Thorn warriors slowed, some collapsing to their knees. Their heavy armor and advantage in combat became a liability in the burning heat. Meanwhile, the humans kept their steady pace. When they passed the first fallen thorn, Lisa paused to offer water, which the warrior refused with a snarl. By the 3/4 mark, only 3 thorns remained standing. The humans, though sweating profusely, had not lost a single team member. And they crossed the finish line with their full team intact. The Thorns managed to get only 2 warriors across before the time limit expired. "Victory to the humans," announced the council moderator, shock evident in their voice. Elder Draz's mandibles clicked furiously. "A minor setback," he growled. "The desert favors endurance over strength." Jack simply nodded to General Craig, who was staring at the humans with new respect. 1-1, Jack said to his team as they rehydrated. "Now they know we're serious." That evening, as both teams recovered for the next day's challenges, the council observers buzzed with conversation. "Did you see how they moved together?" asked a floating being from a gas giant planet. "Their strategy was unexpected," agreed a crystalline entity. "They compensated for physical disadvantages with coordination." Across the station in the Thorn preparation area, General Craig addressed his warriors. "Do not underestimate these humans," he warned. "They are smaller, softer, but they think differently than we do." Elder Draz entered, his posture rigid with anger. "One lucky victory does not make them equals," he snapped. "Tomorrow's challenges will prove Thorn's superiority." But doubt had crept into the minds of the Thorn warriors. They had seen humans work together in ways Thorns never considered. They had witnessed an endurance that defied expectations. In the human quarters, Jack reviewed plans for the next challenges with his team leaders. "The aquatic challenge is tomorrow," Lisa said. "Then the aerial maneuvering test." Tom nodded. "The Thorns hate water, their plates get waterlogged and they can't fly any better than we can." "It comes down to adaptation and tool use," added Lisa. Jack looked at the determined faces around him. "We're not just fighting for Earth," he reminded them. "We're showing the galaxy a different way to be apex predators." "Without claws or armor," Tom said with a small smile, "but with something just as powerful," Jack finished. "The ability to work together." Across the station, General Craig stood alone at a viewport watching the stars. For thousands of years, Thorns had dominated through individual strength and fearsome natural weapons. Now, for the first time, he wondered if there was another path to becoming apex predators, a path that humans had somehow discovered. Dawn broke over Keldor Moon as both teams prepared for the third challenge. The atmosphere in the station had changed overnight. What had begun as a certain Thorn victory in the minds of most observers was now an uncertain contest. Humans had proven themselves worthy opponents. The aquatic arena waited below, a vast artificial lake with floating platforms, underwater passages, and a central island where the objective flag stood. Teams would start from opposite shores and race to capture the flag. "Third challenge, Aquatic Conquest," announced the council moderator. "Each team will use only natural abilities and approved breathing equipment." The Thorns stood at their starting position, clearly uncomfortable. Their massive bodies were built for land combat, not swimming. Water was known to seep between their armor plates, weighing them down. The human team, led by Lisa Black, wore only simple swimwear and breathing masks. Their bodies, smooth and streamlined compared to the bulky Thorns, seemed almost designed for water movement. Elder Draz watched with narrowed eyes. "The water favors their form," he growled to General Craig, "but our warriors will prevail through strength." Craig said nothing, his attention fixed on the humans' calm preparation. When the signal sounded, both teams entered the water. The difference was immediately apparent. The Thorns splashed and thrashed, their powerful limbs fighting against the liquid rather than working with it. 3 warriors sank immediately, unused to their suddenly heavier bodies. The humans, by contrast, slipped into the water with barely a ripple. They moved in a tight formation, swimming with efficient strokes that propelled them forward rapidly. "Look how they move," murmured one council observer to another, "like they were born in water." Elder Draz's mandibles clicked in frustration as the humans quickly established a commanding lead. By the time the first